There are only 300 or 400 of them left. Government soldiers tasked with defending the ABOU region of southern Yemen. A few days before we filmed here, nearly 200 of their number were killed, fighting Al-Qaeda militants. A stinging defeat which brought the unit to its knees. So this morning, military staff are trying to boost morale. They've gathered generals and religious leaders to deliver a pep talk to troops.
You, soldier, my brother, are a mujahideen. You're a resistance fighter, following the path of Allah. If they fight you with weapons, you have to respond using arms, because you are on the right path and your enemy is on the wrong one. You are on the right path because you're defending your country, your land, you're defending your dignity and your honor as well as that of your country.
A speech playing on patriotism and Muslim faith, a new doctrine for the Yemeni army.
If the soldier is lucid and aware that his combat is just and that fighting terrorists is a duty prescribed by Sharia law, then the soldier will find faith through his combat and find a desire to resist. So the desire to fight and kill his enemy will return because the soldier knows he is on the right path.
But for these soldiers, the spiritual arguments of fighting their fellow Yemenis is not the main problem.
The soldiers are going off to war without ammunition. Can you believe that? Without ammunition. It's arriving at the airport, but we don't receive it. We get just ammunition which isn't fit for fighting. We've spoken about this a lot. Yes, I'm speaking out, so what? Are you going to cut my throat?
As the exchange heats up, an officer butts in.
Thanks to God, we're safe. The state is strong. We have weapons, ammunition, and missiles. We can resist any enemy.
But it seems the soldiers around him don't agree, and that we're no longer welcome to film the scene.
Go on, get out, leave.
We've obtained amateur video footage of the battle, which has caused such damage to the troops' morale. It was the fiercest attack ever launched by Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula. 200 soldiers killed, another 73 taken prisoner alive. This multiple rocket launcher was seized from the Yemeni army, alongside piles of other weapons. Another humiliating blow for the government soldiers, and it's not over yet. The captured troops are having a political and religious re-education lesson from Abu Hamza, a well-known Al-Qaeda chief.
I'm asking you in the name of God, did President Ali Abdullah Saleh govern by the law of Allah? Does his successor Abdur Rabbu Mansur Hadi govern by the law of Allah? Why are you fighting alongside them against those who govern by Sharia law? Today we are colonized, and you are colonized. American and Saudi aeroplanes have violated our airspace. French and British warships have violated our waters.
We asked the militants from the Partisans of Sharia, this Al-Qaeda affiliate, if we could meet the prisoners. After lengthy discussions, they agree that only our cameraman can go, filming with their equipment. The location is kept secret. The 73 soldiers are being held day and night in these 6 cells. Their jailers are present throughout the prisoners' interviews, which could, of course, impact their statements.
They attacked us at 5 a.m. They were shooting everywhere. We tried to resist them for 5 hours. We were constantly asking for reinforcements and ammunition, but no one came.
A few days before the attack, we reported to our superiors and to the Southern Command, even right up to the Ministry of Defense, that boats were arriving by sea. No one responded. They just told us that these boats belong to the state.
Prisoners like these have become a currency, at times exchanged for Islamist militants held in Yemen's prisons. But at the time of filming, the militants say that no representative of the Yemeni government has tried to secure the return of these men.
If it was a question of American hostages, you can bet negotiations would have started. In 2 days, they would have been freed and paid up. But us, says that we don't exist.
If we're not released, then we might as well sign up with Al-Qaeda. Yeah, we'll just join the ranks of Al-Qaeda.
To do that, they wouldn't have to go very far. Al-Qaeda's control is spreading. Last month, they took the town of Wakar. Amid the political turmoil, the revolution in Yemen, militants have extended their grip on the region. Most residents of Wakar have fled, but Abu Ahmed simply didn't have the money to leave.
Where should I go? I can't even get around just here. How could I travel to Aden?
Armed and well organised, the fighters of Partisans of Sharia, or Ansar Al-Sharia, now control nearly all the towns of the Abiyan region. And, like all the areas under their rule, Wakar is now living by Sharia law. It's strictly implemented. Everywhere, men are watching out, checking that the word of the Quran is respected. In this white jeep are members of the town's moral police. Their mission, to stamp out vice and promote virtue. They make sure everyone prays 5 times a day. NASSAR works on a stall at Wakar's market. He, like everyone here, has had to get used to the new regime.
Okay, let's go. It's time for prayer.
Before, religious worship was unregulated here. Now, prayer time runs like clockwork, structuring the lives of all Wakar residents. A year ago, at the same time of day, NASSAR says this market would have been full of shoppers. Now, even the thieves and pickpockets stay away.
We close the shop at prayer time. Then later, we open up again. There's no theft here anymore. The thieves have their hands cut off.
There have been 3 such amputations in 4 months, and the penalty has proved dissuasive. In Wakar these days, the police station and the courts are found in one building. From the judges to those who carry out capital punishment, such as cutting off hands, are all part of the same Sharia system. Abdulaziz has come here to try and find out who killed his wife and get justice. We're not allowed to accompany him inside.
Before, when things were different, it was complicated. Now there's just one kind of justice. Even when you're up against an official or someone well known, you can still win.
Swift verdicts and heavy sentences have filled the legal holes left by the Yemeni state.
It's to do with weapons. Someone gave me weapons to sell.
Yeah, that's right. You stole them, really.
All right, what about you? You can talk. Now they don't want to let me out.
But in Wakar, there's still a huge problem that Sharia law hasn't been able to tackle. The economy is in free fall and humanitarian aid is needed for survival. The Al-Qaeda militants are forced to coexist with international NGOs, with some conditions attached. This distribution, for example, is on behalf of the International Red Cross. But those handing out the aid, like WALID, are all Yemenis.
No, the food has to be given directly to the person concerned. Sorry, Hajj, but we have our orders. The distribution has to be direct into his hands.
The Red Cross's intervention has been carefully negotiated with the militants.
We know very well that the Red Cross speaks to everyone and can't act without authorization. It involves all sides in the conflict. Then we get permission to come in and distribute supplies to the refugees.
Salah, the man in the pink turban, is one of the many refugees. He fled fighting elsewhere in the region a year ago and needs this aid to feed and house his family.
I'm a refugee from the town of Zinjibar. I've got 5 children, all girls, and their mother. For us, this situation is catastrophic.
Thanks to this sack of rice, Salah's family will be able to survive for a month. For his part, Walid is now only employed part-time. He's a teacher, and while the school's still up and running, there are no pupils now.
There are people living in this town. As you can see, they're still in the region. But most family with children have fled. So that's why there's no school.
And then a sign of why people are fleeing. Airstrikes. Every day, Yemeni Air Force bomber jets fly over the zone. Today, there's no airstrike here, but people live in a constant climate of fear. Like many others, Walid has sent his children to school further off in the city of Aden. He lives alone now and thinks back to the Yemen of the past.
In the socialist era, there was some justice, despite the oppression. Then, under the party of President Saleh, they claimed they were governing via Islam. But the corruption was rampant, much more than under the parties before them. What's happening now is the result of the mismanagement by the government of Yemen.
In just 1 year, the militants of Ansar Al-Sharia have gained power and influence over nearly half of southern Yemen. One by one, towns in the region are falling under the control of radical Islamists, proudly fighting for their ideology. Without rapid intervention, it could soon become the world's first Al-Qaeda-run state.